What's up, guys? We are back with another comparison. This one was requested, and one of my favorite things to do on this channel is compare new flagships to the old flagships. So let's see what the big difference is here. Let's go ahead and dive in. So the Galaxy Z Flip 5 is one of Samsung's top flagships. It's up there with the S23 Ultra. It's $1,000 phone. And the Note 20 Ultra you can find in the USA at least for around $350 to $400 depending on the condition and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and dive in here. Is this phone worth upgrading if you were interested in just getting the latest phone here? One of the biggest differences here hardware wise is that the Galaxy Z Flip can fold down like that, and it makes it a very kind of compact phone. You have an outside screen on here as well too, which is pretty cool, so you can interact with widgets and stuff like that. So it can be pretty cool for people that are interested in this type of form factor. And a lot of people think this is the future. Also, you have the folding one that folds out into like a bigger tablet. But that's essentially the biggest difference here, is that this one can become more compact, as with the Note, obviously it can't fold. Now, a big hardware difference here is you have an S Pen built into the Note as well too, which is really nice. So basically it's really good for jotting down notes. Doing digital artwork on here as well too is fantastic. And Samsung throws in a lot of software features as well that you could take advantage of with the Note phones. So hardware wise, the Flip is not IP68 dust and water resistant like the Note. So the Note you can actually submerge in water, and it'll be fine. This one is IPX8 water resistant, and really I wouldn't, you could get this wet like in the rain, or if you spill something on it, it won't break. But I would not get this if you drop it in a pool or something like that. 9 times out of 10 it'll probably break. So that's also a big difference here. Now they're both very premium feeling phones. They're both glass and metal phones, and they both have that really nice premium feel to them. And honestly, the Note feels just a tad bit heavier, but the Flip is actually not that. It's not super light phone like you would think. But that's pretty much the big hardware differences here. Also, besides the SD card support, which we'll get to later. All right, let's talk about these screens, because that is a pretty big thing here. So this is a pretty big difference. So the Flip does have a 6.7-inch display, which is slightly smaller. The Note has a massive 6.9-inch display. It's a really big phone. And then it's dynamic AMOLED on the Flip, HDR10+, 1750 nits peak brightness. It's 1080p 425 for the PPI. 120 hertz, of course. And then the outside display here, it is a 3.4 inch panel on here, and it's Super AMOLED. It's 720 by 748, and then it's 306 for the PPI. So again, you have that dual display on the Flip. All right, so basically the Note 20 Ultra has the 6.9 inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's 1440p, 120 hertz, HDR10+, with 496 for the PPI. But with the Note, you can only use the 120 hertz at the full HD. You can't use it at the full resolution. So both displays are great. The biggest thing you'll notice upgrading from something like the Note to this phone is that you will notice there is a crease. Now the crease it's not like it's super in the way. It's kind of hard to see, but you guys can see right there, there is like a crease here, and you can feel it when you rub your hands across the middle of the display. And obviously that's not going to be there on the Note. Now the creases, and again, it's not a big deal. Sometimes you'll run your hand across it, but sometimes you'll be scrolling most of the time from like right here or right here. So typically you're not going to be scrolling in the middle. But yeah, you do have that crease right there. That is the sacrifice you pay for having the outside display. But I think the Note's display is much better for viewing content, and I'll let you guys know why here. Basically because it just fills the screen more. Alright, so let's talk about the specs a little bit more. So here are the Geekbench scores. You can see the single and multi-core. They're both running Android 13. So The Note has the Snapdragon 865 chip on here. SD card support is on board. 128 gigs of internal storage, 12 gigs of RAM. The Flip, it does have the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, and then it has 256 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM, no SD card support. Now, this surprises people all the time, but the Note is still very fast. It's about just as fast as the Flip or the S23 for that matter. And it actually is a little bit better optimized for gaming in my opinion as well too, which you're gonna see. But as you can see, they're basically on par with each other. This surprises like a lot of people. But yeah, so let's go ahead and launch Subway Surf, and then we can get into PUBG here. But yeah, it surprises people. It's really not that far off from, you know, the latest chip, right? Let's go ahead and get into PUBG here. Alright, so as you guys can see here, now the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, of course, it is a very good chip, very efficient. But we can't get 90 frames here on PUBG. Now, it still plays very, very well here at HDR Extreme. But what I love about the older Galaxy phones is that these phones are just really well optimized. You can see I can play PUBG at 90 frames here, and it's just super, super smooth. And now it just looks, you know, better. Yeah, so like I said, a lot of people, this actually, again, it surprises a lot of people. The older phones, in some cases, are even better for gaming. And this is across the board, even with Fortnite, Call of Duty Mobile as well, too. So these are just some really well optimized phones. And like I said, you know, you just get a better gaming experience for cheaper. All right, let's check out these stereo speakers. We're at max volume. Yeah, I actually think the Note might be a little bit louder, but it's not by much. So the speakers on both of these phones are really good. I think the Note just has a little bit of a louder sound. Also, I want to talk about the hardware. So this is actually something that, you know, Samsung did that I was actually a big fan of. I've always been a big fan of this, and that's putting the fingerprint scanner, you know, in the power button. I've always been a huge fan of this. I like it over the in-display ones. I don't have an issue with the in-display fingerprint sensors. They're both, you know, they're fast, but it just feels a little bit more natural to me with the physical one, you know, on the power button. Also, well, here's one thing that I noticed, right? So with the Note and the S23, I don't know why they left this out here, but you have Samsung desktop support on here, and it's completely gone on the Flip. And I don't know why, because this is a flagship phone, so it should have it. I don't know if this is Samsung's way of like trying to make it the S23 Ultra. I don't know. Try to make it different. It's just weird that it doesn't have it. Like, and like, am I tripping? Or like, it's not here. So yeah. So I just thought that was weird. I don't know why they don't have that on here. It's just a super random thing to do. So this is an area where I think a lot of people find surprising is with the cameras. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So with the Flip, we do have a dual camera setup. It's a 12 megapixel standard, and then you also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It also shoots in 4K 60. It has a 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 30. The Note 20 Ultra has a 108 megapixel standard lens, so you get way more detail. A 12 megapixel periscope telephoto lens that does 5 times optical zoom. So the Note is still gonna pretty much kill the Z Flip when it comes to zoom, because it has 5 times optical zoom. Not only that, but you have the hybrid zoom as well too. But it also has the 12 megapixel ultra wide. It has the AK-24, and then it has a 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. So overall, the specs on the the Note is just better. It's, you know, it's just better for zooming, and I get it, because, you know, this has to flip and stuff like that, so they can only do so much. But check out these stills. Let me know what you guys thought. Alright, so let's talk about battery life. So this is an area where I was a little surprised, because I thought I was going to get the same sort of battery life with the S23 Ultra on the Flip 5. But so far, just using it, it feels just like, you know, a normal phone. Definitely good battery life for sure, but it's not like that really good battery life I was getting on the S23. But yeah, so the Note, you know, believe it or not, can still get around 6 hours of screen on time. I actually have a battery drain test on my channel. But yeah, you'll get, you know, better battery life on the Flip for sure. I don't think it's like a whole bunch more, probably like maybe an hour more screen on time. But yeah, so the battery life is pretty good on the Flip regardless. It has a 3700 milliamp hour battery, 25 watt charging, wireless and reverse wireless. And then on the Note, you do have a 4500 milliamp hour battery, 25 watt, and then the same wireless and reverse wireless charging. So yeah, so I really like this comparison. It's pretty interesting. Which phone would you guys, you know, would you guys upgrade to a flip phone like this? I really like the phone, but I don't know, the Note still has a lot of things that I still really like about it. I think the camera zooming capabilities are better. The screen, it's better for watching content. Yeah, there's still a lot to like about the Note actually. So what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.